Thank you so much for agreeing to be a volunteer reviewer for our student Fulbright application process. I'm Susanna Challen. I'm the scholarships coordinator, and David Chugg is our director. Teresa Kincaid is our office administrator, and the three of us make up the National and International Scholarships Program. You can email us at topscholars@illinois.edu with any questions anytime. That email address goes to all of us. As a volunteer reviewer, prior to the interview, we ask that for no more than 4 students that you read their application and the country profile of the program to which they're applying. After reading the application, if you have feedback for how the student can improve, we ask that you incorporate that either in the PDF itself or in a separate Word document that we can provide to the students after their interview. We're also going to be providing you with an evaluation form, and that's something we'll be filling out as a committee together after the interview. But we provide it to you in advance so that you can jot down any notes for things that you think should be highlighted. And we ask that you prepare a few questions you have for the students to use during the interview based on their application materials. Finally, we'll be sending out a doodle poll for scheduling, and we ask that you respond promptly and with as many openings in your schedule as possible. The interview will take place in the Illini Union Bookstore building on the 5th floor. There is a northeast entrance, which is not the bookstore entrance, but further on Wright Street. And that will take you to where you need to be. We'll also be sending you more detailed information with a conference room number and time after the doodle poll scheduling. You'll be participating in an interview on a committee of 3 to 4 individuals. David or myself will be part of that and present. We ask that the committee members bring questions. We'll be discussing in an interview for about 20 minutes with the student their suitability for the program and why they want to be a Fulbright student. After their 20-minute interview, we will discuss for about 10 minutes each student and complete the evaluation form. We don't have to have it finalized that day, but we will be asking for input from all the committee members so that David and I can type up the final version to be included with the student's application. So I'll talk a bit more about all the things that we are providing you. One of them is the country profile that I mentioned. I have a visual here of the first page of the Spain English Teaching Assistant and the Malaysia English Teaching Assistantship country profiles. These are just examples, but I wanted to show you how they differ for every country. And so when you're reading a student's application, it's important to keep in mind what are the characteristics that that country is looking for. Each country is different, and they describe that in the profile. So we ask that you read the profile prior to the student's application. The application package is going to be provided to you as a PDF. If you prefer a paper copy, you can just request that. We'll be happy to provide it. The application has a general information section. For some applications, if required, there's a self-assessment and a faculty assessment of their foreign language ability. There will be 2 essays. There will be official transcripts. What you're viewing may have unofficial transcripts. Official transcripts will be provided if a student is a semifinalist. Finally, letters of recommendation. There will be 3 letters for study research awards in a formal letterhead type format, and for English teaching assistantship applications, there will also be 3 recommenders, but they will be using a form that the Fulbright application provides. We like to just let you know how this interview on campus fits into the larger Fulbright process. Some of our students have been working all summer on their applications, so we actually had an optional priority deadline at the end of June that some students already had submitted their applications for. For those students, we had volunteer reviewers in the summer review their applications and provide feedback for how they could improve in advance of this deadline. Some students did not submit for that priority deadline as it was optional, but they did meet with our office staff and they've been working on their applications. And some students have never contacted our office before. They're submitting their drafts for the first time, and so you're viewing the first draft just as we are. So it's a mix in the applicant pool. For all applicants that apply to our internal campus deadline, Fulbright requires that we conduct an interview with each student applicant. And this is your role in the process. You're reviewing their application in advance of that interview as preparation and interviewing the candidates, and we'll ask you to do that for no more than 4. And these interviews will be taking place in September. For students that the committee interviews and that we see as suitable to go forward, they will be then considered by a national screening committee. I want to note that most of our applicants will go forward. If a student is suitable, we put them forward. There's no limit on how many students we can put forward. The national screening committees meet all over the country at late November and mostly in December. Last year there were 10,500 student applications nationally, so that required 480 volunteers meeting and 160 national screening committee meetings. At these meetings they consider about 75 applications, and they make a short list of somewhere between 30 and 35 applicants that will be sent on as semi-finalists. Students then find out in January if they are selected to be semi-finalists. Semi-finalist applications are sent to the country to which they're applying, and there is a committee there, possibly at the Fulbright Commission, possibly at the U.S. Embassy, that will be selecting their awards. That selection decision from each country tends to be announced sometime between March and May. The goal is around April 15th, if possible, but that doesn't always happen. And we are a good news office, so if a student that you review and interview are selected as semi-finalists, we will let you know, and if they're selected to be awarded with a Fulbright, we will let you know that too. So if you don't hear from us, that means they were not awarded. We will certainly let you know if they are. We're going to be providing you with this sheet from Fulbright that just has some of the questions you might consider as you're reviewing. We think that it's a good idea to just highlight any areas that need to be addressed or improved for the student's sake. We're providing you with this evaluation form that I mentioned, and this is what we're going to be completing as a committee, and it actually goes, the final version of this form will go as part of their application to the National Screening Committee. So we're going to be completing this together, but we just ask that you jot down any notes about things that you really think should be included in that form. We'll be gathering all of those pieces of input after the interview with the student, and then our staff will finalize the form to submit with their application. So please note anything that you think that is not well addressed in the application, and we can also ask questions related to those things during the interview. This form is also helpful in letting you know how our applicants will be ranked by the National Screening Committee. So you can more or less think that the topic of the first question is the project or proposal to which they're applying. That's 5 points. On a scale of 1 through 5, each reviewer of the National Screening Committee, and there are 3 per screening committee, will give them a ranking of 1 to 5. Then the second question relates to their ambassadorial potential, and they will again receive a ranking of 1 to 5. And finally, their knowledge of the host country and potential for engagement with that country is a scale of 1 to 5. So in total, there's 15 points that an application can be ranked with, and the ranking will determine how likely they are to go forward as a semi-finalist. The fourth question allows us to address the suitability of the candidate, which is a yes/no in the fifth question of do we endorse this candidate? And as I said, we are not limited in how many we can endorse. And we're also allowed to provide just additional comments related to that applicant's suitability in that fourth question. So as part of the application, you're going to be reading 2 essays for each student. If it's an English teaching assistantship program, it's a 1-page project proposal, and then a 1-page personal statement. If it's a study research application, it will be a 2-page project proposal and a 1-page personal statement. We ask that you provide feedback to our students after you have read their application. They have between the September interview and the October national deadline to improve their application. And so any suggestions you have, you can either include those as sticky notes in the PDF document of the application itself, or you can summarize them in a Word document. We'll take your feedback in any format, and that feedback we will provide to the student after their interview. We'll set up a separate one-on-one meeting with each student to discuss how the interview went and also to provide feedback from the reviewers. Our scheduling will be done, as I said, by a doodle poll. You may have already gotten that, or it may be coming soon from Teresa. So we ask that you let us know as many times as possible that will work with your schedule, and we will let you know once we identify a time slot with the location and details. So when you come to the interview, please bring your evaluation form with any notes, feedback that you have for the student, and questions that you have for the applicant. If it's easier for you to send those by email, you can email them to topscholars@illinois.edu. We ask that we have them by the time of the interview, so that way we can schedule those follow-up meetings with each student afterwards. So bring those with you, or use the interview as your deadline. That's all for this overview, other than to just say thank you so much for participating in this process. It's one that has been successful in past years. We have been ranked as a nationally recognized top producer of student Fulbright awards, and it's in no small part to your efforts to help our students put their best foot forward. So thank you, and we look forward to working with you this year.